Well, of course, it happens to everybody. This is Steve Ridgel, and my grandkids are all teenagers, and now three of them have their license and are driving. Another one's got their permit and is learning to drive. But our 16-year-old granddaughter's had her license about 3 weeks. She had her first little accident. Now, it wasn't even her fault. She was sitting at a red light, got bumped from behind, hit from behind. She did what she thought was the appropriate thing to do, pulled over in a gas station, got out, and watched the other driver just drive right past and take off. Really upset her. And 16 and new to driving, that's a hard thing. But she learned some really good lessons from it that we were able to talk to her about and share with her other grandkids. And so some of those lessons are, number one, she wasn't hurt. And that's always the most important thing. Anything else is just stuff. People, you're what matters. And you're okay. And so that was one lesson, to remind her of the priorities, that above all, people matter, she matters, and if you're not hurt, that's a win. Number two, the Jeep really wasn't, she drives a Jeep, and it really wasn't hurt. Now, it's scary, and you're excited to have a car to drive, and somebody hits it, but it didn't do a lot of damage to it, and it was okay. And one thing you also have to teach, it's a great lesson to learn, is that, you know what? Stuff doesn't last. It gets hit, it gets dinged, it gets beat up. Man, I've got a really nice new truck, about a year old, out here in my driveway. We had hail about 6 weeks ago. I didn't think it did any damage, but the sun's been out enough on it now. I looked, and I've got little hail pecks on it. Well, nuts, but things don't last. Things get torn up. Another good lesson for our Avery that she got to learn was, you know what? This is a hard world, and people will take advantage of you. Even if they had done more damage, that person might... Now, maybe they didn't think they did any damage, so it didn't matter, but even if they had known they did some damage, they might have driven off anyhow. Because we live in a fallen world where people do bad things. We were able to remind her, you know what? Everybody in this world is not a Jesus follower. And they're not going to do the right thing. They're going to do the wrong thing. Or maybe that was a Jesus follower and they had a momentary panic. Maybe they were scared. Maybe it was a teenager. She couldn't even really see who was driving it. Maybe it was another teenager who panicked they would get in trouble from their parents. Maybe it was someone who had some outstanding tickets. There's no telling who it was that hit her and why they drove off. But maybe they were a believer that just made, in the moment, a really bad choice. And you hope if that's true, they repent and they do better going forward. And of course, the other thing you're able to talk about is, you know what? Move on. Things happen. Let's put it to bed and move on. Well, you don't want your kids or your grandkids or even us to learn lessons the hard way. But I was glad that our granddaughter was able to learn that people are what matters and you weren't hurt. Things get damaged and things wear out and they're just stuff. And it's a hard world and people do hard things, and you're going to have a lot worse done to you by people who don't care about Jesus. Or sometimes it may be a believer and they make a mistake and they panic. You sometimes will make mistakes too, and you do believe in Jesus, so you'll learn to say, I'm sorry. I think it'd be kind of neat if if the person that hit her recognized her and came later and said, you know what, I'm sorry. I should have stopped and made sure everything was okay. But you learn lessons the hard way sometimes, but you learn them and you move on. So, it won't be probably the last wreck or the worst wreck. We've all done worse. So this is Steve Ridgel being thankful my granddaughter wasn't hurt and that she was able to learn lessons, and hoping the person that hit her will learn some lessons too.